Fucking campaign.
Here's the trailer.
So force everybody to do this shit, or else they really don't have access to the stuff that they should have access to. And basically,
I know that wasn't the conversation. Okay. Yes. Very good.
It's been a good impression day for me too.
Also, to me, nobody said that much. All of the gamers and basic.
Where's everybody at? Actually, stage. Everyone, Liberty, Sarah, Adrian, Marshall, everybody on stage. If you want to come on. Sorry, everybody in the room. If you want to come on stage, feel free. Hope everybody had good holidays.
How was yours?
That was pretty cool.
Good. Are you back home?
Yeah, I think my voice is starting
Yeah,
to
your city's
not
holiday.
all the way back, but it's better. It's like a lot stronger than it was. Yeah, I'm good. I'm Gucci. Can't complain.
Ace ... Constitute @D verify.
I think I haven't been back here. I haven't been back home in a year, if my memory serves me right. So it's been a while.
Where is home?
Where the heart is. Also, I don't want to tell you because people on the app are weird.
Yeah, that's smart.
I requested to go up and not.
But yeah.
Jason, you're originally Cali, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually have a question for you. Do you have any pets, like a dog or a cat?
Mm-mm.
I was talking to somebody over the Christmas holidays, and apparently dogs were domesticated long before we thought they were. Dogs were domesticated as humans walked across the Bering Land Bridge that used to connect Eurasia to Alaska. And they know this because they found a dog that had salmon in its bone, like in its guts and bones, for like pieces of salmon DNA. And there are no salmon anywhere near where they found the dog. And so historians and archaeologists and anthropologists estimate that the dog would have had to have been given salmon by a human. And that's their evidence for why dogs got domesticated, like at least 10,000 years earlier than we thought.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why that came out of a discussion about whether I'll have a pet, but
Dude, my mind works in weird ways. Sometimes it goes on weird tangents.
that conversation started off real normal and then it got weird quick. Hey, you have a dog? Like, nah. Let me give you this niche history about domesticated dogs that I discovered recently. Like, what? Salmon DNA.
I love that your brain works that way, Marshall.
Thank you.
I suppose it's better than putting mayo on peanut butter and bananas.
I know. And overcoming for baby.
Who would do that, Serendipity? Who? Name a person. Name a single solitary person.
Knock it till you try it.
I put mayo on everything, Jason, and I would never put it on peanut butter.
Girl, you don't know peanut butter and banana. You gotta have banana too. Yes, yes. As long as you don't put cheese on your apple pie, we're Gucci.
Wait, have you tried it?
Cheese on my apple pie? No.
Mayo and peanut butter and
Mayo and peanut butter and banana? Yes. I didn't invent it.
Don't make me try it. If you tell me it's good, I have to try.
Girl, it is so good. I'm telling you what, if you put mayo on everything, you've got to try it. And then I need you to come back and tell Jason how freaking scrum delicious it was.
I'm not going to do it, but I do want to point out an irony the same people who, and I don't know if this applies to you two specifically, but I feel like the same people who are like, nah, I'm not gonna take this clinically proven effective vaccine because the government says so. But if you random person on the internet tell me that putting mayo on banana and peanut butter sandwiches is legit, fuck it, I'll try it. Why the fuck not? Like,
Yeah.
that's.
Do you want to go down that rabbit hole?
I mean, we can. I have time.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about this. Peanut butter, mayo, and banana sandwich. You eat it together. You can have a bite. You may want to vomit. You may never want to eat one of the three again. What's anything worse than that can come up? First of all, you're never gonna try a whole sandwich. It's only a bite or two. Just to taste and
Only
try
a
it.
bite.
But that's what you do. Now let's
And it's
talk
not
about the
gonna kill you.
Now, that's what I'm saying. Now let's talk
Well,
about the
there are
vaccine.
such things as peanut allergies, and they do kill people.
Well, I don't have peanut allergies, so.
Just saying.
But let's talk about the vaccine that I refused. Actually, no, I got it. I'm vaccinated, but I didn't want to get it. Right? Let's
A
talk
snuff
about that.
machine. This device is used in Swiss and German tradition. Users place their nose over the machine, wait for the operator to drop the hammer, and a puff of air makes a dose of snuff shoot up their noses. And yes, some even
Make
include
the
a built-in
vaccine.
nose cleaner.
It takes 10 years to make sure the vaccine doesn't have long-term side effects.
No,
Oh, it does. This is my career. I teach this stuff. It does. It's 10 years. And the shortest vaccine they
why
have
would he take
ever, because it's for medication, all medication, and
why
it's
would
for
he take
vaccine.
specifically that amount of time?
Because within the first 10 years is when you see most of the side effects.
It's good to get some fresh air. This guy
So
was
I
caught
just
cheating
think
the
I
sport
just
of
like,
Rear
this is
Alpala.
like,
The goal of the
you
game is to use the stick to reach as far as possible without touching the ground. Majority of contestants are required to have some insane strength in order to win. However, when this guy showed up, he decided to do something different. He ended up using his stick to hop across the field, allowing him to reach the end. This guy was caught cheating in the sport of Rear Alpala. The goal of the game is to use the stick to reach.
should not be ready for mass production until that time. And then there was one vaccine. Did until they took it off.
The FDA has never had
Okay, I'll send you some links later.
wait period policy.
I'll send you links
Back in
later.
2005, the company.
I'll send you lecture notes. If they had taken,
So here's the thing.
Jason, if they've taken the links down, I'll send you pictures of textbooks.
The FDA does not now, nor has it ever had such a policy. That's not true.
I'm just telling you.
One of the biggest reasons why development of vaccines takes so long is because it takes a god awful long time to get the amount of people for the trials. That's one of the biggest reasons why it takes so long to develop.
It's
Okay.
to see the
Secondly,
side effects.
The R&D that goes into whatever fucking ingredients they put, whatever fucking causal vectors that they have in these fancy vaccines.
Causal
That also takes time
vectors.
to develop, and especially if the entities that are doing all of this research and development are underfunded. So those are also things that can cause delays of several years. But the thing is, with the COVID vaccine, a couple of things happened that made it really easy to rapidly produce. One is they already had like a body of research of a decade plus, several decades actually, at least 2 decades actually, going into mRNA vaccine technology. So that they already had that body of research going on. Second, they turned it over to private sector. They minimized going all in. They actually
Who created the TVA?
And then they help provide.
I have to tell you something. We'll figure this out. Because
Helping them provide a bunch of people to try.
this is new for me.
Right, which is one of the things that takes the longest to accomplish. So they were able to go through all 3 phases of the trial rapidly, way quicker than most other things developments that I've been in an emergency situation. Right? And one of the biggest things that would be a part of it is if the vaccine turned out to be effective,
will be.
be first in line to get it. So that was how you incentivize people to be a part of the trials. Usually you don't have that to negotiate with people. So like, these are all of like the things that contributed to the vaccine being developed rapidly and then rapidly going through the normal 3-phase trial. Like those are fast. I've looked for this policy that you described. I've never been able to
Jason,
find it. I
I'll
don't know
send
why.
you links.
Okay,
I'll
you
send
haven't
you the
done that
links.
yet, and I guarantee you your
Yeah,
links
but
are
I'm not
gonna
gonna
be
do
bullshit
it
because
right now.
everybody
I
who
can't
says this says they're gonna send me links and they never send me links.
I
I've been
will
looking for this
though.
shit for like
I just put a
2-3 years now.
picture for you, okay? But I'll send you
Oh.
links though.
Well, then that's
I
all.
will send you links,
I don't believe you.
okay? But if you want to mass vaccinate and mandate a vaccine on people, you're supposed to make sure you've done your long-term side effect checking.
What do you think the phases are for? What do you think the phase trials are for?
I'll send it to you though.
No, but what do you think the
But
3-phase trial
it's,
process?
it's about the number of people who are in the phase, and it's about how many years they're observing for side effects. And
No,
until
no. So the
I
phases.
can't believe. Okay, I don't want to
among
have
other
this
things,
argument.
they would
Let's just
observe
drop
any
it.
possible side effects, but they also observe the effectiveness of the vaccines. Okay, you get that, right?
Phase
Like-
3 clinical trials are critical to understand whether the vaccine is safe and
And
effective.
effective, exactly.
Phase 3 trials often include tens of thousands of volunteers,
Yeah.
not millions and billions of volunteers. They mass vaccinated people
Yes.
before this trial was done. And you
No,
know
that's
what?
not true. No, that's not true. All 3 phases of the trials were done before they mass
But
vaccinated anybody.
phase 3 is supposed to be done in 5 to 10 years.
No.
Oh, now it's
Yeah.
now she's
No,
moved
that's
it.
not true. That's just
Now
not
it's
true.
5 to 10, not 10.
No,
Interesting.
it's not true. There's no time
It is
limit,
true.
bro. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay. I'll
It's
send you the
literally
link.
not true. Why would what would be the advantage of waiting 5 years to complete a phase
Because
3
you
trial?
can see long-term side effects.
Okay,
That's
but
why a lot of
side effects.
medication.
First of all, side effects in general don't manifest as solely long-term side effects. Like I don't. What the fuck are you talking about? Side
You
effects
can
are side
see
effects.
long-term side effects. Yes.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Are you
Are they
serious?
like delayed side effects? Like,
Yes.
they don't show up for 5 years? Like name a
Yes.
single example of that kind of side effect ever.
I have to look it up for you.
Exactly, because there is no such
Because
thing.
I'm not
There's no
making
such thing.
stuff up.
That makes no sense. Why would a
Oh my
why
God.
would a
This is
vaccine
this is why
have a
we
delayed
shouldn't
side
have this
effect that lasted
conversation.
that delayed for 5 years?
I'm
What the
withdrawing
fuck?
from this.
What would
I'm
cause that?
withdrawing.
What would cause
I'm
that?
withdrawing. I'm withdrawing.
Because you don't know what you're talking about.
No, I
should
absolutely
withdraw.
know what I'm talking
No,
about.
you
I
don't,
teach
because
in
your links
6
aren't ready. You don't know what
Listen,
you're talking
I
about.
teach
You're
in
saying
6
things that are
college and
patently and
universities.
demonstrably false.
This is so funny that you're saying all of this. I teach
Because
at
it's
6
true.
colleges and universities in Southern California.
Okay,
And this
name
is-
one
this is
university
one of
that
the
would verify that there is
This is
any
one of the
policies such as you
subjects I
described.
teach. And you
Name
know what? I'm
name
not
a
arguing
single
with you.
university.
Okay,
study-
you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. We're done.
Well, I knew that when you opened your mouth, but the point is, like, you don't have any way to verify any of the claims you're making. You're just saying things.
Ruth, it's like chiropractic classes. First of all, I have 5 degrees. I'm a biochemist and molecular biology from University of California, Irvine. I also have a master in public
Did you
health
say
and a
UCI?
master in healthcare administration.
Well, maybe if you focused on one thing,
That's
you would have a better
That's
answer.
not cute for someone say chiropractic, pretending like I haven't studied other stuff, and I don't teach chiropractic. chiropractic. No, I actually teach pre-healthcare.
Maybe you should, instead of being a jack of all trades, you should
not like an endocrinologist or a virologist, so like that would be the areas of expertise where you probably know
I
what
have,
you're talking
and
about.
I did 5 years of research at UC Irvine and RNA viruses structure. So, but
But that
I'm just
doesn't-
I'm
that doesn't-
doxing myself. It doesn't matter.
Tell you.
As I said, I'm wrong. You're right, Jason.
That doesn't inform you
you're
about the
making me
intricacies of
myself
the
right now, and I
development
don't
of
appreciate it.
vaccines, or how they work, or how the trials, the three phases of the trials work. None of that. So like that just wasn't your area of expertise, and that's fine that you have a medical background. You probably know a lot of shit I don't know. To be fair to you, I'm not trying to like discount your knowledge. I'm simply saying you've made specific claims that I know to be false because I've researched them. Because these claims have been made over and over and over again in a bunch of vaccine rooms on Clubhouse, and I went and looked into them, and I found out that they're just wrong across the board. Like I can't, like literally, I have tried for like what 2-3 years now to find one example of it, like ever in history, anywhere in the world, of a side effect that delayed for 5 years before it manifested itself. I've never heard of such a thing, not even once. And like, if you had one example that was concrete, that might bolster your argument, wouldn't it? Like, is that not a fair question? So, like, to be all up in arms about the potential of something that literally, at least as far as I know as a non-expert, has never happened anywhere in the world is a weird justification to be like, the government's evil for, like, making vaccines that are, like, 99.9% effective available to the general public. And one of the biggest demonstrators that the shit was effective was the fact that literally hundreds of millions of people in the United States alone got them, and they did exactly what the fuck they were supposed to. Like less than 0.1% adverse reaction. That's actually fucking phenomenal. That's actually a huge accomplishment. And I'm not trying to discount any of the cases of adverse reaction because they did happen, and some people have been negatively impacted by that. I'm not trying to make it sound like those people don't matter. Like I'm simply saying, I don't know, man. These arguments, these anti-vax arguments, dude, like they don't hold up to muster at all. Like if you start asking basic questions, people get angry and end the conversation because they haven't really thought it through. They just know they want to be up against whatever. I don't even know why. I guess the government was involved, like so that must make it evil. Like I don't even know why you would be that fucking skeptical. I'd be more skeptical of the fact that drug companies were involved with a profit motive. But like, even that, it's like, bro, but the data's clear. Shit's a fucking effective. Like, it ain't like, I don't know, man.
Oh, Jason, I asked ChatGPT this question. I put the link in there. The only thing that seems to have had anything close to that was the H1N1 vaccine. They had cases that were reported within a year or two after the vaccination.
Cases of what? Adverse reactions or side effects?
This was the question. Can you name examples of vaccines that had side effects but were not present until 5 years after taking the vaccine? Basically, couldn't really do that, but the only thing that came close, saying that narcolepsy cases were reported within a year or two after widespread vaccination during the 2009 H1N1 pandemic.
I had a question. How long does it usually take a vaccine to go through the proper channels of testing before they make it available for widespread human consumption?
Usually several years, for the reasons I was describing earlier. I don't know if you're familiar.
No, was it? I asked the question because you said you don't know of a vaccine where the side effects show up to 5 years after, but being a fact, do you hold any idea to the fact that we fast-track this vaccine, so usually the years that we would have to study it, they didn't go through that requisite time, so any other side effect that we do have coming up that usually we would have seen from testing it for years, we are now just seeing? And again, I don't have no dogs, I'm just asking because I heard you ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural thought to have, but the part you missed, I think, helps answer that or address it. Normally, the reason for the delay has nothing to do with monitoring for side effects. The reasons for the delay have everything to do with other things, such as finding people to be a part of the 3 phases of trials. And you have to do the 3 phases of trials in a very specific or sequential order. So you can't start phase 2 before you finish phase 1. Okay, so if phase 1 delays you a year, then it effectively delays phases 2 and 3 by the same amount of time, because you can't start those till the first one's done, right? So you can have compounding delays through the phases because you need to find a certain range of people to be a part of the trials, and that usually takes forever. Most of the time, one of the reasons why is because, one of the reasons why it was different under the conditions of COVID is because it was an emergency situation, and one of the things that they were able to offer to people in that emergency situation, if they volunteered to be a part of the trials, was that if it was effective, they would be able to get it. They would be able to get the vaccine free of charge. And so that created an incentive structure that is normally not operative. Usually when you're testing drugs and stuff like that, it's not to like address some pandemic issue. Usually it's, it could be any drug for any number of things. It could be like a miracle cream to clear up your face. It could be whatever it is. And so if only a very small subset of the population would even have a need for it, it's even harder to find people to go through the trials, right? But if it's something more generalizable, like a general vaccine for the general population, then it's way easier to find people for trials. So that is one of many things that help expedite the process. The other thing is that the government removed a lot of red tape that usually deters private actors from even trying to do these things. And they created all kinds of incentives for like Pfizer and Moderna, Johnson & Johnson to even get involved with developing this vaccine. So that's what Operation Warp Speed entailed. And so all of those things that the government did helped expedite the process monumentally. Because again, we're in an emergency situation. Okay? If you understand that for the vast majority of drugs that are tested and seeking FDA approval, that one of the biggest causes for delays has more to do with finding people for the trials and less to do with monitoring for side effects, then this side effects argument kind of gets undermined. And like what I was trying to do is explain why the side effects argument doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The other part of that, the last thing I'll say, is most side effects do not take 5 years to manifest. They're almost always immediate. Like weeks, months, maybe. And the reason why it would be delayed even weeks or months or even, I guess, years potentially is because it took that long to get that amount of people in trials. But if you have everybody kind of relatively all at once, then that delay is going to be minimized, right? Like delayed side effects are extremely rare, but especially delaying them by years. Like most things you take don't last in your body that long. So like, I'm boggling my mind trying to figure out how the fuck something could be a side effect of a drug you took 5 years ago would manifest 5 years later.
Okay, Jason, 2 things. If you really want to research on this, when you go on Google, you have to go under tools, and then under any time, you have to check for whatever you want to check on the custom range before 2019. That way you'll see what was going on before COVID, because whether you believe it or not, once you do that, you're going to see a lot of other stuff. That's number 1. I wouldn't use ChatGPT to look for stuff that there's a lot of controversy out there. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's how you do when you want to research something and see if
Jason didn't do
correct
that.
or wrong.
I did that, and I was no. I did that, and the reason
Okay,
I
can
did
you let me finish? Can you please let me finish? And then I added a link to the chat. That one is from NewYork.gov, and it is saying it takes 10 to 15 years before vaccine is available for general public. And I'm just posting this. This is not the link I want to show you. I want to find FDA's link where it was on their own website. And about 60 years ago, that's when FDA decided that it's unsafe and they have to monitor for up to 10 years. And this was on FDA. But this
That's not what this says.
Okay.
That's not what you're supposed
I
to
told you I'll send you another one, but that says
send me
10
another
to
one, but
15
the
years.
source- No, but hold on. It does not say that that is a minimum requirement before you're allowed to make a vaccine available. It says that I'm quoting now, it usually requires 10 to 15 years of research before the vaccine is made available to the general public. The first step of this extensive process involves several years of laboratory research in which scientists and researchers identify an antigen that can produce. Once the test vaccine has been cleared for further investigation by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, at least 3 more phases of thorough clinical trials are conducted on human volunteers to test vaccine efficacy, to determine appropriate dosage, and to monitor for adverse side effects, etc. These trials usually take several more years to complete. The last phase involves a test group of up to tens of thousands of human volunteers. Unsure if this is a large enough test group? Consider this. Medicines in the United States also go through incredible scrutiny, but their test subject sample sizes are 3 times smaller than vaccine test subject groups. But that's not the end of it. Once approved, the FDA continues to closely monitor the vaccine. It tests everything from batches of the vaccine to the production process and the facilities for safety. The FDA also conducts ongoing monitoring of vaccine reactions. Numerous agencies also work together on a global level to track, collect, and analyze data to make sure these vaccines are and remain safe for the general population. For more information on vaccine coordination and monitoring, visit the CDC's page on why it's important to monitor vaccine safety and the Immunization Safety Office. Unlike other vaccines, which typically take 10 to 15 years of research, development, and testing before being approved by U.S. Food and Drug Administration or FDA, seasonal flu vaccines are developed on an annual basis. While the antigen changes in the flu vaccine every year, the manufacturing process remains the same and is founded on ongoing virus tracking around the world. Scientists can determine which flu virus is most likely to circulate during the next flu season, and once identified, can change the antigen, but can keep everything else in the vaccine the same. The process builds on time-proven techniques and allows the medical community to respond quickly to protect the public from changing flu viruses. For more information, visit the facts behind vaccine safety. The exhaustive amount of scientific evidence confirming that vaccines are safe should ease anyone's concerns about how they're made and tested. The flu vaccine is no exception. Vaccines build your body's immune system so that in the future it's able to fight against a specific disease. Today's arsenal of vaccines protect us against many types of diseases that we could still encounter in our lives. Many of these diseases can be crippling or even deadly if you come into contact with them and aren't vaccinated. Like, nothing in here makes the point you're trying to use it to make. And I wanted to read it out loud so everybody can hear the information that you cited as a source for your claim or your contention. That it takes. I am literally in the process of pointing out a lie. It does not take a minimum. It does not take. Sarah, can I finish? It does not take a minimum of 5 years to research a vaccine to make sure that there are no side effects. That's a lie. The monitoring process is more complex than that for several reasons. And again, you're not being nuanced about why there's the usual or typical amount of time of 10 to 15 years for vaccine development processes. And I was trying to specify why the COVID vaccine is different in a way that's not conspiratorial, because it's not really conspiratorial at all. A lot of the research and development had already been done for mRNA vaccines in general, which makes the development of the COVID vaccines a lot more akin to the annual development of new flu vaccines, which was in your source.
It even talks about, like, if you even click the other link, it goes into more that doesn't support her theory, where it says the 10 to 15, that has a link as well. And it continues to,
like, any good faith, thorough analysis of your contentions is going to yield ultimately one conclusion, which is it's not a tenable position to make it seem like, I don't know, bro, that the COVID vaccine development process was so especially egregious or dangerous that it's putting a whole bunch of people at risk. Like, that's just not true.
I took the vaccine. I took 3 of them, and then my doctor told me to stop taking them. I don't know why, but those, at least privately, I think those things are done between a patient and their doctor, right? Like, if the patient comes in and the doctor's like, "Hey, you need to take this," and then the patient looks at the doctor and goes, "No, it's not safe. I don't want to do that." than
Well, I mean,
you're second guessing a guy that's been to medical. You're second guessing a guy that's been to medical school.
if the perception of its lack of safety is merely perception based on some things you heard, that's just not a very good basis for making decisions about very complex medical stuff. Like, yeah, you should confer your doctors with your doctors because they typically have the way more useful information and a way better scientifically grounded understanding of what's involved and what you'd have to consider for your personal health. Right? That's
And
one
they
of the
would know
reasons
your
why.
risk factors and reasons
Yeah, they
why
would be
you
in a
need.
yeah. So, like, for example, I genetically, I have several people in my family who this is true of, am genetically predisposed or prone to have the blood clot issue be an issue for me. So that was something I had to consider when I decided if and which of the vaccines I was going to take. And I ended up having a breakthrough case, as they call it. And by the way, there's all these conspiracies about that shit. I don't even want to go down that road, but I just acknowledge that they have conspiracies about that. But I had what they call a breakthrough case. So despite the fact that I had been vaccinated, and I took the Johnson & Johnson one, and one of the reasons why I decided to do that one was because it was one and done. And at the time, in the state of California, once you got vaccinated and got your card, you could do a bunch of shit like go to the movies, go out to eat and stuff. So I was incentivized to do it that way for that reason. So that's why I did it. The other reason why is because I had to get eye surgery because I have retinal detachment that needed to be corrected. And because of that, I reasoned via a conference with my doctor, the person who was recommending I get the surgery, that because the healing process involved with the eye surgery would probably contribute to waning my immune system, that I should wait until I was fully healed from the eye surgery before I even got my first vaccination shot. Because to whatever extent that vaccination would also tax my immune system, I'd have double things taxing my immune system at the same time, and that's not a good idea. That was actually something I personally reasoned, and then I shared that with my doctor, and my doctor went, actually, that makes a lot of sense. I agree with that assessment. That's how that conversation went. Right? To me, it was just logical. It was like, well, if I got two things taxing my immune system at the same time, and I can stagger it to make it so that's not the case, then wouldn't that be smarter? And so I gave them my reasoning. My doctor was like, yep, that actually makes a lot of sense. Bravo. I was actually kind of like, I felt good about myself. I'm like, oh, okay. My doctor was like, yeah, you hit that out of the park. Like, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's fucking go. I know shit too. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of that conversation. But anyway. So that's why I did it that way. And because I was delaying. Hold on 1 second. Because I was delaying taking my shot, I figured if my first shot should be the one and done Johnson & Johnson, because then there'd be a less of a delay for me getting immune, because you have to wait 2 weeks after your shot or whatever. So that's how it happened with me. All right, somebody wants.
Okay, again, what I just put. This is even not what I want to show you. I'm going to find you the FDA. It's going to take some time when they manipulate for people to not find these, but you do find them. So the link that I posted for you is actually the research paper. And if you click on graph figure 2, it will show you the antigen identification and production. That is the part that they could have done in 1 month if all the scientists worked together. No problem with that. There is a non-clinical, which they test animals. They have to do 1 to 2 years. And then the clinical trials, phase 1 to 3, is another 4 to 8 years, which is why this process is 10 years. But I'm going to find you the other thing that I said, because it was on FDA's website itself, and all of this is monitored by FDA from the minute they even want to start working on it. No lab is allowed to work on any virus without FDA's approval. Like, this is even before they want to start, finding a vaccine or even a medication.
That's why Trump had the Defense Production Act. Or use the Defense Production Act for vaccines, so that it can jump the line.
And then let me tell you something, Jason. So I want for everybody to understand where I stand when it comes to vaccines. Not only I'm not anti-vaccine, I'm actually pro-vaccine. I do believe everyone who works in healthcare setting has to be mandatory getting flu shot. I have no problem with vaccination, and I even think we need more vaccines to be mandated. But my problem with this vaccine was the only problem I had was that you mandate a vaccine that hasn't gone through proper testing. And what is proper testing? Proper testing is what 6 months prior to that, I was learning in my public health classes that why we need to have this many years of clinical trial and this and that. And again, if it's a danger to the public, you can offer everyone to get it. I get that. But you can't tell people if you don't get this vaccine, you can't go to school. If you don't get this vaccine, you're going to lose your job. Because I still think what they did was insane. I'm just glad that there's not as many side effects as it could have, been. Only because it didn't turn out bad, it doesn't mean, it would have not. And there are other reasons. But I don't want to go into details because then you're going to keep asking me for links and this and that. But we've had issues for 30 years in the science. They've tried to make vaccines for other coronaviruses and we never succeeded because they actually had very bad side effects during the animal trial. 30 years and we never were able to. And the one thing about viruses is that viruses in the same family, they react very much the same. And that was the main reason I had issue because we did skip animal trial. And we failed for 30 years. Most of the vaccines, it wasn't that they weren't effective, they had side effects. And the main side effect was hypersensitivity, meaning once the vaccine wears off, if you get that virus, you're going to get more sick. So the reason I had any of that is not because I was on any train of conspiracy. That's just because of my experience and my education in that topic. I just thought it was, it was very careless and really wrong to mandate it. That was my problem, mandation.
Okay. So if you click on your link, nothing in the actual reading part, the part that we seem to miss on Clubhouse, actually gives any time period when explaining the phases. It explains the phases, and at none of those junctures does it have any required time in any of the phases.
This is in the textbooks. I told you it's in textbooks. I will get it for you, but if you go on Figure 2, it has the times on it. I don't know why you're arguing over this.
Did you read anything, or did you just look at a picture?
Are you serious right now? That figure is showing you that it's not picture, first of all. It's a scientific figure, and it's actually showing you the timeline.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Yes.
but these are not required time periods.
Exactly.
These are just describing how much time it took.
Right. That's the reason I asked, did you read?
When it says 1 to 2, 4 to 8, 1 is minimum, 2 is the maximum.
No,
yes, that's how.
No, that's typical. So if you want to say, how long does it take for a woman to get ready on her first date, and then you monitor a whole bunch of women getting ready on their first date, and then you describe on average for the thousands of women we monitored, it took anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour for them to get ready for their first date. It would not follow from that you have to wait a minimum of 30 minutes before. Some women are probably pretty quick and they can get ready above in atypical time frames, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes, for whatever reason. Some women are maybe atypical in the other direction. Maybe it takes them 2 hours instead of 1, right? You're just fundamentally misrepresenting what these numbers mean.
Did you hear also the part that I said for 30 years we haven't been able, before COVID, we weren't able to actually make any vaccines for coronaviruses. Yeah.
I don't know if that's
true. And then let me tell you something else I just remembered.
You didn't substantiate it.
Let me tell you something else I just remembered. I'll send you this article.
Why would you just say things that you're not prepared to actually support?
And then blame us when we criticize.
Do you think, is this like a, well, no, but I want to know, is this like, a planned debate for me that I came in with links and papers for you?
No, but
And this is why I said I don't want to argue because I
you should
clearly
know what you're
don't
talking
have
about.
money for you right now.
But you,
I know exactly what
but you
I'm
don't.
talking
But you
about.
don't know what you're talking about because we keep proving you wrong with your own sources.
No,
This is
no.
usually what happens when
You're-
people don't know what they're talking about.
no,
And like
this
that's
is
what's
literally
annoying about what you're doing right
Clubhouse.
now. Is
This
you're
is
getting all
Clubhouse
emotional
model.
about the fact that we're applying basic critical thinking to the claims you're making in absence of any real justification or support. You keep promising support and then providing things that debunk what you're saying. That's what you keep
And
doing.
then
No, it's
complaining that we
not. I
ask for
just show
something
it to
that
you.
actually supports it. You have showed us nothing.
Okay, you win.
Like
I'm
you
wrong.
clearly don't.
We're done.
Like, you keep saying that, but then you keep talking.
No, I
Come
won't
back
even.
and you say
I won't
something
even
else
try to
stupid.
find you
Then
guys
come back
anything or
and-
send it to you.
Well,
Whatever.
that's great. Maybe
But
you
you never were. That's the problem, right? Like you were hoping that we would just give in and accept your claims, and that's fine. Like you can believe whatever you want, right? Like she left like a punk. Like you can believe whatever you want. At the end of the day, that's cool. You can believe dumb shit about vaccines, but like, bruh, like you're not talking to somebody who's just adversarial. You're talking to somebody who has legit looked into a lot of the claims that you just made for like years now and has found disappointingly that most of the claims you're making are false. They're demonstrably, patently false. There aren't any textbooks that say this stupid shit because the shit's not true. Like if you just understand at a basic level how these processes work, then it's easy to understand why it doesn't make sense to have an arbitrary time period of 5 years before you're allowed to administer vaccines to the public. That doesn't make any fucking sense. There's a whole bunch of reasons that have nothing to do with the possibility for side effects, why these things take long periods of time. And among them is like the practical realities of getting people to sign up for trials or the practical realities around doing the basic R&D necessary to even move to the point where you're even ready for trials, for the 3 phases of trials, all that kind of stuff. That shit's usually delayed for a bunch of other reasons. That's the main idea of what I'm saying, right? And like, this isn't hard to grasp, but like the conspiracy nuts really need it to be the case that the only or the main reason why these things take 10 to 15 years to develop is because we need to be really certain that there are no delayed side effects. That's a lie. That's not true. That's not why. And it's easy to understand why that's not true because there aren't really too many examples of 5-year delayable side effects that one person could even come up with. That doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. That's weird. And again, logically, like you don't even have to be an expert to understand this. Most things do not stay in your body that long. Most things that you can ingest or imbibe do not stay in your body for 5 years, bro. And this is especially true with vaccines, which is why motherfuckers be having to get like vaccinated like every few months or maybe annually when it comes to like the flu vaccine. But that's usually in preparation for some other new flu or whatever virus. Some vaccines are different. Some vaccines you can get vaccinated for life basically after a couple of them and you're good. But it's looking like COVID is not like that. COVID is looking more like the flu. So I don't know, bro. I mean, even dude, I don't know. Like, just read shit, bro. Like, like the shit I've discovered about vaccines. I actually understand a lot more about vaccines, having gone through these clubhouse rooms and looked up shit that I had no idea about. I didn't know about the 3-phase trials. I didn't know nothing about virology and the mechanisms. Matter of fact, how novel mRNA technology is and the mechanisms that it uses in order to basically prompt your body's immune response is fucking fascinating shit if you want to really look into it and why it's such a medical breakthrough.
You know what I found funny, Jason? is it when I asked her, did she read what she shared? And she keeps talking about a damn picture. She's like, it's not a picture, it's a figure. Yeah, a figure's a picture, dummy. And I was like, fine, I'll call it a figure if that makes you feel better. But it doesn't change. Did you read anything about the figure that was being displayed that said none of what you're saying?
I mean, people feel like they could just put some links in the chat and just say dumb shit. It's like, bro, I'm gonna check your link in real time. Like, I'm gonna scrutinize this shit, bro. Like, I'm not just gonna accept what you say because you provided some links you don't understand.
And you're like, probably vaccinated.
You're probably vaccinated. I rest my case. Like, come on, bro. Like, and I'm not even on that energy where it's like, oh my God, if you don't get vaccinated, you're killing grandma. It's more like you're just saying things about vaccines that aren't true, bro. Like, that's not okay. Like, I mean, you can think whatever you want, but don't try to assert some shit. And then when people don't accept it at face value, get mad. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you're actually applying scrutiny to what I'm saying. Leave this room.
You're forcing me to dox myself. And I thought my head, actually, nobody asked you for any of that shit.
Is that the purpose of this room, to make me provide links? I'm like, nah, you brought this up. I made a joke, and then you got real serious. So I was like, all right, totally Yeah, I made a little off the, color. I knew what I was doing, though. I knew that there was a potential for somebody to take what I said and make it all serious. And when she took that bait, I was like, all right, here we go. I'll go through it.
What did you say?
We were talking about the mayonnaise, peanut butter, and banana sandwiches, and I said the same people who are like, yeah, my friend says that mayonnaise and peanut butter and banana taste good, I have to try it. Be the same ones to be like, nah, government, I'm not taking your vaccine. I made that as a joke. And then apparently that triggered her ass because it fit her perfectly. So she literally said those things in like the span of a couple of minutes. And then she was like, all right, let's talk about the difference between your comparison. I'm like, oh shit. Here we go.
Dude, she was
I was joking. I wasn't even really trying to go there. I was playing. But it's like, all right, I mean, I guess I deserve this.
She went into that stuff in another room, and I told her I got the vaccine taken, and she said I was like fucking crazy or something. I was like, oh yes, that's a great way to convince somebody you have a valid point of view. You're fucking crazy. I don't need to listen to you. Like,
Didn't she say she was vaccinated too? Like,
I think so. She does what my dad used to call being un poco dramático, like overly dramatic.
Are you Spanish?
No, he just lives in Texas, so he thinks he can speak Spanish whenever he wants to.
I sometimes speak Spanish.
Nah, but like, she did this thing where she was like, started like describing her medical background, which is a dead giveaway that you don't really have the credentials you're pretending you have. Because motherfuckers who really got them credentials don't feel the need to be like, I'm a 3-year professional whatchamacallit. Like, nobody, like, bro, if you got credentials like that, motherfuckers would just be like, I know what I'm talking about, and then they'll demonstrate it by actually going into the subject matter. They won't be like, look at my degrees.
and here's the funny thing: you clocked what she said. You said, and none of that would actually help you with this subject matter. I was just trolling her by saying maybe if you didn't have so many different areas of focus, maybe you would know what the fuck you're talking about.
I mean, yeah, it's like, and I wasn't even trying to pull rank on that because it was like, bro, I'm not a fucking endocrinologist or virologist or none of that shit. So there's so much I don't know. I'm not trying to be like an expert. I was just more like, it's not about that. It's like, I know that a lot of what you're saying is wrong because I read about it for people who know what they're talking about. Like, that's how I know. Like, I was low-key trying to find my sources because I just be reading shit, and I don't necessarily track where I read shit from, so sometimes it's hard for me to find shit right away. But I was really getting to the point where I'm like, I need to find this shit. And low-key, I probably read most of this shit on the CDC's website, which apparently doesn't count because it's the government. But it's like, all right, bro, like, I can find some other sources if you want me to, but, like, this is not even debated, bro. Like, I don't understand. Like, oh, God. People just want to like not like these vaccines, and it's like I'm not anti-vax. I like other vaccines. It's like, okay, but what is so special about this one? They didn't properly test it. It's like, that's not true. They test the shit out of these vaccines. That's how they know they work. Like, what are you talking about? Like honestly, you know what I should do? Is I should find a timeline of the actual phases of the trials for every iteration of the vaccines that went public, so that people can know how much time they spent testing this shit.
Yeah, and part of one thing I thought was interesting. Am I on mute?
No,
You
you're
hear
not.
me? Oh, okay. One thing I thought was interesting is that part of the time that was counting, and what she said was from when they first discovered whatever it is, where there was some and she didn't even address that. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all of the phases that are in her figure got expedited. That's what I was trying to describe for her. I focus mostly on the phases, but
none of the phases say timelines.
Sequencing to find there's some kind of sequence that they have to do in order to be able to develop a vaccine, and they rapidly did that shit somewhere in China, like in record time. It's probably because they were working on that shit in Wuhan. But we don't have to go there. But they found that shit real quick, and then they told everybody else in the world to help enable them to start making vaccines for it. And it was I don't know, man.
I will say that China profited a lot because a lot of the PPE that people would buy.
Yeah, made in China.
Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
What I actually still have questions because I don't understand everything. To what extent did the mRNA technology help expedite the process? Usually, when vaccines are developed, they use attenuated versions of the virus, but you don't need to do that with mRNA. And so I wonder to what extent that helps expedite the development of it. That's just a question I can't answer because I don't know enough about the nuances. You know what I mean? But I don't know, people the kind of common sense, hey, it usually takes this long and it was really short. How do they know that there's not some bad stuff? That kind of basic commonsensical logic makes sense to a layperson. I get it. I understand why people felt that way. I used to feel that way until I read about what the actual nuances of the process were. Then it's okay, well, that actually explains the thing I was concerned about.
Yeah, I think people like the idea of a conspiracy. Oh, Jason, I was so upset because I wanted to be in your room for the Flat Earth, when you did Flat Earth. How did it go?
It's recorded. It was the same bullshit. It was mostly Brandon. All the other ones didn't show up, but Brandon was mostly in there trying to make excuses for the final experiment. And change the subject and shit. Brandon's boring to argue with because he just repeats himself like a dumbass. And I'd be wanting him to actually address shit. He just, because he don't have no answers, he resorts to stupid shit and stupid quips and just repeating the same shit over and over again. Little stupid ass tactics. Jamal's bitch ass showed up, but he stayed in the audience. And I think Nomad came in there and just stayed in the audience. That was hilarious. That was way after. I don't remember if he did. I didn't notice because I wasn't watching my phone. I just happened to look and I saw them, and when I acknowledged them, then they both dipped real fast. That shit was funny.
That's what I was actually really interested in. I was like, oh, I wonder what the conversation's going to be after this.
They don't have no answers, so I know they don't want to address it. But what I expect them to do is make a bunch of excuses and then change the subject because they don't have any answers for it. That's usually what they do. But the glorious part of it was when Khazra, one of the flat earthers, was arguing with Brandon and them. Khazra was like, I told you guys to leave that Gleason map alone. It's going to make us look stupid. And see, this is what happened. And then Brandon got offended. So I let that shit unfurl. That shit was funny. That shit was comedy. And I got that recorded, but I couldn't even really get into it because my voice was so weak still. Because I had like a raspy voice. I was talking shit, but I really like I was battling that shit. So I was like, when they started going at it, I kind of went on mute, just started laughing because that shit was funny. But yeah.
How long is the room? I'm terrible about listening to.
Like it's a few hours. We ended up talking about all kind of other shit. I feel like he was in that room at one point, but I don't know.
I meant to come, and I think I ended up falling asleep, or I don't know.
Well, just FYI, they've already started to break down Whitson, who was one of the people that went on the actual trip. So now there's a whole fake gate surrounding the fact that they're basically saying that he didn't go and it's all fake. So
I mean, they were starting that shit when he was there. So
yeah,
they already turned on those two for going and exposing them. So that was not surprising. I guess they're just running with that because that's all they can do. Somebody said that they were in a fake dome. That was a green screen dome, or no, not a green screen. It was like the inside of the dome was like a giant continuous like
a sphere.
Screen. Like a King Kong when he threw the tree branch, or like fucking that Jim Carrey movie where he's a character, but he's like the only person who's not an actor. Truman Show type shit. They said they weren't really in Antarctica. They were in some kind of dome.
Yeah, that's like the sphere. Sphere's like a big dome, like a dome screen. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but it would be on the inside, not the outside. But yeah, you're talking about the Vegas. Yeah,
right.
The same technology, and that's actually a comparison they made.
Really? Yeah.
So that's at least a subset of their theories.
Did they disown Lisbeth too?
I've been waiting for that, and I haven't heard them do that. But they kind of do it in ways that are subtle, like they like repudiate or like not disavow, but like disregard what basically the observations she made. But she's never really there. Like, what I really want to do is I want to get Elizabeth in a room with Brandon and them and then talk to her. Because I'd pick that shit apart. Because there's a whole politic that she has to do. If she wants to keep them friends, she can't admit too much shit. And I'm going to play with that awkwardness. If I ever get a chance. But I feel like they know I would do that, so they wouldn't allow it. They just wouldn't show up to her. But yeah, that's what I really want to do, is talk to Elizabeth. Just interview her with them present, because I'm going to play with that shit for hours.
I like her. She's nice.
Yeah. I'm wondering how long it's going to take her to realize that them niggas don't really give a fuck about her. They care more about the fucking religion than they care about her. And if she's too honest about what she saw, it's going to be really awkward for her. And I'm wondering if she's realized that yet, or if that's going to be a rude awakening one day in the near future. Or maybe never it will.Maybe she'll figure out a way to make it work.
Those are her friends. She can't let them go.
I mean, she might be able to make new friends. I don't know. It's just a fascinating thing. The psychology of cults.
Is she like a former flat earther or something, or?
No, she still is a flat. Well, I don't know. I don't know what she considers.
Is she floundering? Is she like faltering or something?
Well, she went on the Antarctica trip, and so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, she was physically there with tickets. She just doesn't have a name like them, so nobody talks about her. But we know her from Zap, so.
Right.
It's hilarious because now there's a connection to the Flat Earth gang specifically. They can't disassociate as much as they normally could because she was there and they were running like she was their mascot and she was their fucking secretary and she was like all of this shit all of a sudden, and now it's like, oh, you're gonna backtrack on that?
They put her on a pedestal for her going initially.
The shit is hilarious. Like they have to pretend to keep their religion alive, and it's fucking hilarious because it's like all this shit y'all doing is fucking fake, bro. I see through all of that shit.
Wow, she's like holding up the house of cards. They can't disavow her, or is it just basically it means that they were.
She don't go to no rooms outside of their weird ass cult religion rooms. So it's like, I really want to get her on record in one of my rooms. That's what I really want to do, because then oh my God, I could make so many rooms from that room.
Not evil laugh.
I'm just saying, I be scheming, bro. But like, it's to me, it's just entertainment at this point, because the thrill of the back and forth. I lost. There's no. I'm bored by the arguments they make now. They're the same stupid ass arguments. I've already figured out why they're wrong. At first, it was fun because I couldn't. Sometimes they make arguments like, "Oh, I never thought about that," and then I would go research and figure it out, and then come back, and then they would just make the same stupid argument. I was expecting them to be a little bit more dexterous intellectually, but I don't know why I thought that. So then it was like, all right, I'm only really going to engage with Jamal because at least he makes the shit seem like it makes sense, even though it doesn't.
Him and Linnell, to me, both do.
No, Linnell's an idiot. Linnell doesn't make any of that shit make sense. Linnell is just too easy for me because, like, the first time I actually debated him, I was able, through just pure intuition, like, debunk most of the shit he was saying. And now he don't even argue straight up. He always had these weird-ass tactics where he changed the subject and just start being annoying. And he just asks rhetorical questions. That's his tactic now. And it's fucking annoying. It's like, bro, I just asked you a question. And then he'll like flip it on you. Well, let me ask you a question.
Do you ever see the nose? Do you ever see the nose of the plane pitch up while you're flying? Like that question is always.
Yeah, once.
I don't think he understands flight mechanics at all, because you don't have to pitch the nose up or down to land or like really go up. You can gradually get higher with the nose being straight if you wanted to. We typically take off because we want to get to a higher altitude quicker. We typically do go nose up, but when we land, we don't pitch the nose down. It's way more gradual. But I don't think he knows that. Also, I went down a long, like, hours-long rabbit hole about how those what are those things called? They had these arguments about these mechanical things that are in planes. Pendulous vanes. I went into this long rabbit hole about pendulous vanes. I had all these videos I watched, and like they did really good with describing how they work and why. What about them mechanically is so susceptible to changes in orientation? And I went, oh. And once you have the diagrams spelled out, it's a lot more intuitive how pendulous vanes work. And I kind of figured out how Jamal was lying about pendulous vanes. But it was weird because it was like, all you have to do is show the chart. Like, a lot of times, if you just have these visual representations of what's going on, it's a lot easier to understand the bullshit. These people. Anyway, sorry. Somebody was about to say something. I don't know who it was. Or not. All right, well, the topic of the room was supposed to be Biden apparently regrets dropping out. We went down the weird rabbit hole about vaccines for some reason. Somebody really wanted to defend their anti-vax stance, I guess, or their anti-COVID vax stance, I guess you want to call it that. Other vaccines are legit. COVID vaccines are dangerous. Is the main message. That was weird. But anyway, I don't know why Biden believes he would have beat Trump. Maybe it's just one of those gut instincts. Maybe it's his ego. But it's kind of sad what happened to Biden. Biden believed in himself. But then when the Democratic Party stopped believing in him, that's when the backstabbing happened. And I never thought I'd feel this way, but I actually started to feel sorry for Joe Biden. Because once his ambitions weren't in alignment with the party machine conspired in such a way as to take him down. And then they did it in a way where it was clearly backstabbing. And then they tried to pretend like it wasn't backstabbing all after the fact. Which was like Obviously bullshit. And then people sipping that woke Kool-Aid, that Democrat brand of Kool-Aid, were all on that. Thank you, Joe, for your service. You're such a great man because you didn't have an ego when it counted most. And you gave us the opportunity to beat the evil orange Nazi man by putting Kamala Harris in your place. And then Kamala Harris went and lost. And she didn't barely lose. She got her ass handed to her. And that's sad. That's actually kind of a sad story. Because the one dude that actually succeeded in beating Trump, people just stopped believing in him because he looked really old as fuck on that debate stage that one night. He had a bad night. He just had a bad night. And then he had a bad night followed by a bunch of bad days. This motherfucker introduced President Vladimir Zelensky as President Putin with the world watching, bro. It was embarrassing. I was like, ooh, he did that. I couldn't believe he did that shit. And then he accidentally referred to his own Vice President Kamala Harris, as Vice President Trump. And they cut to his chief of staff, and you can see the face palm. They didn't actually face palm, but they averted their eyes and kind of looked down. I was like, damn, bro, he's just having some bad days. They said he had COVID. I don't know if it's true, but it might have been true. He was sick with something. So then he disappeared, and then he had endorsed Kamala, and that kind of didn't give the Democrats much of an option. And the Democrats scrambled to try to make that work. And I'm not gonna lie, they kind of made it work, bro. They had a whole DNC. The DNC was like a big commercial. It was like, new and improved Democrat candidate. Everybody believes in Kamala. Oprah believes in Kamala. Sweet believe in Kamala. It was pure bullshit. But it was wow. If you took actual shit that just landed out of the ass of a bull, fresh, and you dipped paint brushes in it, and you had a blank canvas, and you painted a masterpiece out of bullshit with all of the intricacies and shit, and the little swoops here and swishes there, and it's a really elaborate fucking painting out of bullshit. That's what the DNC did. I was wow, it's bullshit, but it's amazing bullshit. It's art, you know what I mean? It's artistic bullshit. That's the level of bullshit we're talking about right now. These motherfuckers will bullshit you, bro, but they'll make it like a nice, beautiful fucking mosaic of bullshit. It's crazy. And I was just entertained by it because I'm just wow, I'm calling bullshit on all of this, but motherfuckers are eating this shit up. Can you imagine going to the art gallery the next day when you saw this person dipping their paintbrushes in actual bullshit to make this painting? And then it's in the art gallery smelling like shit, and everybody's pretending it's a masterpiece, and you're just wow, bro, these are some sophisticated, uppity-ass motherfuckers who actually don't realize that they are filled with adulation about bullshit, literal bullshit. There's flies in there landing on the bullshit. You're y'all don't see the flies? And then they came up with some weird, sophisticated excuse for why the flies there. It's no, this is part of the artistic statement. It's the fact that it draws flies that really makes it pop. And you're just wow, the delusion. That's how I felt. I don't know how y'all felt, but that's how I felt. The whole election cycle. I'm these motherfuckers are really delusional as fuck, bro. And then at one point, even I was well, I don't think that Kamala Harris is a good candidate, but Trump is also ass, and so maybe Trump will fuck this up. And then election day happened, and she got trounced, and I was oh, okay, well, I guess I was wrong. I really thought Trump was gonna fuck up. I really did.
I mean, when you hear somebody say they're eating the dogs and cats and all the bullshit that he spewed, you would think that he did fuck it up.
He did that. That wasn't even care. That wasn't even it. To me, it was the doubling down on the election was stolen, like that was bigger. It's a way bigger deal to me than that nonsense with the dogs and cats.
There are plenty of people that believe that. So, but like that's what I'm saying. Like that's like not as crazy as saying there are people eating dogs and cats. Like, and that's like a common thing to say. Like, that's crazy shit.
Why is that crazier than an insurrection? Like, I don't get it.
I'm saying that people believe that people believe that the election was stolen. Tons of people believe that. So just to come out and say that there's a mass population of people slaughtering pets and eating them, and it's like completely racialized. Like that's a crazy thing to say, other than like the conspiracy theory that the election was stolen, because like I said, like so many people believe it, and then on top of that, the transgender the transgender migrants getting surgery in prison. Was that not crazy too?
What do you mean? That it happened, or
just the way they're touting it, like it's commonplace. The way he was touting it, like it's just like this is just something that happened. That's happening.
I'm starting to realize that you view these things way differently than me. But okay.
No, but like
I want to actually understand your point of view right now, because I'm a little baffled by these questions. So I assume you're referring to the commercials that featured actual footage of Kamala Harris advocating for trans surgeries for illegal immigrants in detention facilities on taxpayer dime. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I'm referring to that, yes.
Okay. So that was an actual position that she held when she ran for president the first time, right?
Right, but like during a debate, like just to throw it out there, like it was I thought was kind of insane. But I mean, I can have the wrong view.
Wait, take that back. What's more insane? Actually holding the position, or someone calling you out for holding the position on a debate stage?
So what did she say? Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm walking. What did she say specifically about the transgender migrants getting surgeries in prison? Like what was said?
She was asked,
maybe I'm misreading this.
She was asked at like a transgender event that she attended whether she would support such a policy, and she said 100% yes, I would support that. And then that came back to bite her.
But what did she say though? Didn't she say it like if it's part of the law, then
no? Then
yes, I would support it. Isn't that what she said?
The first time, no. So she said that. Okay. So this time when she ran, she said when she was asked about it by Brent Baer, as a famous example of that Fox News debate, or not debate, interview. Then she said, "I will follow the law."
Right.
Yeah. So she did. That was like a common way to kind of like have an answer that doesn't really answer anything. But she did say, "I would follow the law this time." But the commercial they made was made out of a clip from an interview she did with some pro-transgender group. I forget what it was called. I have to look it. I can look it up if you want me to play it right now.
Yeah. If you want to, it's really not that deep to me. I mean, like this. I mean, this isn't like a new thing. That's why I thought it was crazy. This isn't like something that's just. This is brand new. Like I've heard of like. I guess I thought it was crazy because he was talking about migrants and migrants becoming transgender, when like there's plenty of prisoners that have gamed the system like that and just got a transgender surgery and became a woman to, I don't know, like they're crazy people doing things all the time. I didn't think I thought it was crazy because of the way he brought it up, more so than like how she was trying to defend the law. That's really all I was saying.
All right, it was so the thing she went to was Transform. Is that the organization? This is Transform the White House, I believe. Transform the White House, if I'm not mistaken. It's hard to see because the logo is blurry. but it does have a picture of the White House in the background. And then there was a 2019 ACLU questionnaire, and it was a question, I assume, for that questionnaire. Let me see if this is the clip. Okay, no, this is the actual the ad they made from the clip. I'm trying to find the clip itself.
Right, because the clip is a sound bite, but I mean, I never actually heard what you're talking about. I've heard the sound bite before, but I haven't heard like the raw, unadulterated clip.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I'm trying to find it so I can provide it, and then you can listen to it. Because I think that the whole interview was clearly longer than soundbite, but I think it was pretty long, like an hour or so. Hold on, it's just like it's being covered by other people. Transgender Equality Action Fund. I'm trying to figure out how to find it by looking at these logos. Because once I know the organization that did it, I feel like I can find it a lot faster. Okay. NCTE Action Fund. Okay, I found a 7-minute 14 long. 7 minutes 14 seconds long one.
I mean, you don't have to play.
That is not that.
But it's your.
But I'm trying to figure out. Okay, this is the right one. All right, hold on. I'm gonna post it right now. Okay, that's 5 years old. This is, I guess, the raw thing. Their description. It says Senator Kamala Harris sat down with Mara Keisling to talk about the fight for transgender equality. Since President Trump took office, his administration has waged a nonstop onslaught against transgender people, so we're fighting back. It's time for a new president. It's time to transform the White House. Learn more at transformthewhitehouse.org today. All right. So that's like their description. And they only have 72 subscribers on YouTube for whatever reason. So to me, that lets me know that this is probably a small group, which is probably why this didn't get out quicker.
They said they have 72 subscribers.
Yeah, on YouTube. But this video has 12,446 views and only 93 likes. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna put it.
Hello, Senator Harris. Thanks so much for being here with us. Thank you. It's good to be with you, and just so clear, my pronouns are
Holy shit.
so happy to be here with you. So you're running for president. Yes. And very interestingly, when you announced you were running for president, in your first speech, your first public appearance, you talked about the importance of trans rights. In my announcement in Oakland in January this year.
One of the prized offerings to the Saudi royal family is the golden date, a fruit that hangs in clusters and shimmers like golden jewels. For thousands of years, dates from Pakistan have been world renowned as a special delicacy. Their soft, sweet taste makes them a traditional food for Muslims to break their fast during Ramadan. After harvesting, the dates are boiled to remove impurities and soften them, then dry. Pakistani dates are particularly high quality and are often supplied to Arab nobility and royal families. The dates' rich flavor and cultural significance have made them a valuable.
And I know this is true. And so I created this division of my office way back when I was elected in 2003 to make and staffed it with members of the trans community to make sure that people who had suffered wrongdoing knew that there was a safe place for them to go where they would not be judged, where they would be treated with dignity, and where we would then make sure that they received equal rights under the law.
Well, in 2006, while you
Scott, so good to spend time together. We're hanging out with you. You can see the
you organized a really amazing conference. It was honestly the first time you were on my radar.
Tim
Let's talk about that. Why was it
He was also on the John Daly Show.
I think went around
He ran affiliate.com, and he's one of the biggest OGs in the world of online marketing. If you've never heard of Scott Richter.
horribly
And Scott and I have gone back many, many years. And today I wanted to interview Scott Richter on the
what was happening around the country
and especially
is
if you're in the world of gambling,
trans
this is
women,
someone that you know a lot.
and
Tell us about the
trans
big
women
jackpot.
of color.
Yeah, so
right
it's
now
been
there's an
crazy.
epidemic.
About 10 years ago, started recording videos of playing slot machines, and it's just exploded, especially over the last couple of years. The big highlight for me was last month in December, I had $1 million jackpot that I caught live. So it's almost like winning the Super Bowl, like catching the $1 million jackpot live, but it was really cool and exciting. And it's just crazy how the community of it has just grown. Between all my platforms, I have over 1.5 million followers now. YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and it just keeps growing and growing. So it's been lots of fun.
I remember when you first started doing this about 10 years ago, you would just get a few thousand people that were watching, and now you've really grown. What have you noticed about your audience and the growth since then?
Just that it's interesting, you know, the demographics of the people and just how widespread it's become as these platforms evolve, and especially as the algorithms get smarter to find more people who are interested. It's crazy how it just, you know, keeps growing and pushes it out to those other people and stuff.
Now, Scott, I remember you were one of the OGs back in like 30 years ago or so. Back in the days of email and websites and the kind of affiliate marketing that we used to know. And things have evolved into social media and these other channels and Rumble and other platforms. What have you noticed in the last few years? Because you're one of the few people I've seen that's actually been relevant and made that shift in the last few years.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I always used to tell people, because I started in 1999, 2000 with email, then it was ringtones and affiliate space and marketing, email submits. And I tell people you have to reinvent yourself almost like every 2 years on the internet, like, and especially in the affiliate space. It's like whatever worked today doesn't work tomorrow. Won't every 2 years. And it's kind of like the same with the gambling and influencer marketing, just the different ways you do it, how we push products, how we, try to make things, seem natural and organic, but it's, just like I said, like every couple of years, it just changes. And stuff. And it's definitely, it's tough to stay relevant. You have to come up with ideas that are bigger than your previous ideas, and just better offers and better deals.
What I've noticed about you, Scott, is that you've made this shift from being sort of a boss behind the scenes, running the traffic, managing these businesses, to then actually being an influencer yourself, actually making these videos, actually running the slots, actually being the face on camera. What has made you successful versus all these millions of other people that try to become influencers?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So for me, it was actually really interesting. Like I've never had any interest to be the front person on the camera. So definitely the first few years of this was, I'm kind of shy and get nervous, but the first few years were rough, especially having fans come up to you and want pictures with you, your autograph and different stuff. And I was kind of like, I'm not anybody famous. I'm just, myself playing slot machines or, and stuff. But now I understand it. And, a lot of these people, watch me, for my average watch time on my long form videos is almost 18, 19 minutes. So, and, we put out a video every single day where like, a sitcom, maybe has a season with 10 or 20 episodes. for 30-minute long that gets 18 minutes of watch time for the whole year. So it's just a lot of fans really engage, really enjoy it, and it's been different, especially on stage now. We have a couple hundred people in attendance. We watch us play slots, and it gets crazy. Like I said, and I still sometimes it's nerve-wracking and stuff. But definitely become more used to it, and was more always an operations guy.
Now, we looked at your stats, and we saw on TikTok and even Instagram that you had half of the people watch to the end of the video. And then if I remember correctly, half of those people also replayed the video. So if you had 300,000 views on a video, almost half of those would want to replay that video again. How do you get that kind of morality?
Yeah, so what it is, especially with the gambling, is one, you want to see it till the end because you want to know how much I won. So, I guess you could fast forward it to the end, but then that wouldn't be exciting. But yeah, so you want to watch it to the end to see how much I won. And then I think a lot of times, especially like with the slot machines, is it's very fast. Mm-hmm. So you want to rewatch it again because sometimes people are like, oh, wait, what was that? How much did he just have? Or I can't believe that happened. Yeah. The other thing is a lot of people like to watch my videos to see how to play the games. I know there's honestly, there's no tips and tricks and secrets that are, if there was, I wouldn't be an influencer. I would just be in the casino 24/7 gambling for myself.
But there's a lot of people in the casino doing gambling. Yeah. But people want to watch you. So, they want to know how much money, because you've told me over the years that you think you're up in terms of gambling, right?
No, I think, I definitely am up for the last couple of years with the $1 million jackpot, but probably over a lifetime, there's nobody who could tell you honestly that if they've gambled their entire life that they're ahead. I don't care who they are. If you gambled for 20 or 30 years and somebody, unless they won $10 million or something incredible, there's nobody who can say that they're up their entire life of gambling. It would just be too hard.
Because when you come to Vegas, I see that casinos put you up in the nicest suites and take care of you and all that. So I figure you have to be losing a lot of money. So if you were to guess, how much money do you think you've lost over your lifetime?
Probably over my lifetime, a couple of $1 million. I think it varies. Some years, I've had years where I've lost $1 million. I've had years where I was up $500,000 or $1 million. So, with the wins and the losses, what it is, but on average, you probably lose 8 out of 10 times. But you usually have one really good win, which makes up for 3 or 4 of your losses, out of those 8 out of 10. And then you have a couple that you break even and stuff. But, probably over my lifetime, 30 years of gambling, I've probably lost a couple of $1 million.
Which isn't bad for 30 years of that.
Yeah, no, especially high, and that's one thing that a lot of my followers really enjoy with me is I have two sets of audiences, so it's kind of interesting. So some influencers, if they're just betting smaller amounts of money, have one set of audiences, which are just their audience and people who watch them. But because of my level of gambling, you have the high rollers who are going to watch me. But, a person who bets themselves $50, $100 up a spin, unfortunately, is probably not watching a guy betting $1. So I hit that audience for the low rollers who want to live vicariously through me and how I bet. And I have that excitement in the people who are the high rollers who, are watching me because that's how they bet. And they're like, what can this machine really pay out? How does he do it? Or how did he win so much or lose so much,
So speaking of high rollers, Tim Cook sat next to you yesterday. What was that like?
That was really cool. Yeah, having him at the table next to us, and I was shocked. The biggest thing I think running into seeing Tim in the restaurant was he had no security detail with him. A guy who's worth almost